Hi everyone, welcome back to day one at the Data Innovation Summit. I am here with Stephen Brobst, who is CTO at Initio. I'm very pleased to be here and talk to Stephen, and Stephen is one of our speakers at this 10th edition. Welcome, it's my pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you, good to be here.
Can you tell us how does it feel to be here on the 10th edition and be presenting in front of so many people who work with data analytics and AI?
It's great. I've actually spoken to this conference multiple times over the years, but I haven't spoken since before COVID. So I was wondering, okay, after COVID, are people still going to come back? But actually, it's a very vibrant audience. People are, interacting. It's great. It's good.
Yes, you can really feel the atmosphere.
Feel the energy. Right?
Energy, yes, in this summit. Thank you for sharing that. We're very happy to hear that. Stephen, I have some questions regarding your keynote session at the summit.
Yes.
And your talk challenges the traditional data as an asset mindset in favor of data as a product.
Right.
So what do you think is the biggest, let's say, misconception that organizations have when it comes to making this shift?
So I think that a lot of organizations get trapped into this feeling that more data is better. And while I agree that you need detailed data to make good decisions and to drive AI algorithms, not all data has equal value. So you need to have kind of a product lifecycle management to understand how you're going to invest in different data products and do it in a more conscious way, not just dumping data and then declaring success. Right. So that's the big shift that people have to make.
Thank you for sharing that. Also, another point that your session covers is the challenge of balancing company-wide goals with the needs of individual departments.
Sure.
So from your point of view, from a CTO perspective, how can organizations strike that balance when still moving forward with data initiatives?
Yeah, so there's a spectrum there, and either side of the spectrum is probably the wrong answer. If you have too much control, nothing gets done, and innovation dies. If you have no control, then there's anarchy, and there's no repeatability, there's no good governance, and so on. So you got to find the right place on the spectrum. Part of that depends on the company's culture. Part of it depends on what industry you're in. Some industries are much more regulated. If you work in financial services or healthcare or government, you're going to have more controls by virtue of regulation than if you're, for example, in retailing. So,
right.
So there's many different factors, but you have to get the right balance. And as CTO, I try to help people understand, that I want good governance for reusability and interoperability and all those things, but not so much governance that we are getting in the way of people delivering value. And so there's this analogy I like to use, where the IT people are usually like the boring parents, always having lots of rules, enterprise this, security, quality, all these things, and they're very strong on control. The data scientists, these are like teenagers. Like they just want to have fun, they want to work with the data, open software, all these crazy things, and it's all about innovation. And parents and teenagers don't always agree on everything.
Correct, yes.
And some they fight sometimes, but eventually the teenagers understand they need the parents to keep them out of jail and to provide the resources they need to get things done and so on. And the parents need the teenagers to drive innovation. Like IT, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the mindset is, okay, get everything to work and then don't touch it, because if you touch it, you'll break it. But then you stagnate, you have no innovation. The teenagers are challenging, and the data scientists are trying to do new things and so on, and you need to accept that and innovate. So if the parents and teenagers talk and get into a single team, then you get much more value on both sides. You get innovation with appropriate controls. Now sometimes the parents and the teenagers don't work very well together, so you might need a family counselor. That's the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master makes sure the parents and teachers, the parents and students talk every single day. 15-minute stand-ups every single day, and the more you talk, the more you understand each other, and good things happen.
And also, I believe that you would agree with me, here comes collaboration and communication between different teams within an organization.
Yeah, but you have to be careful. So you have different teams owning each data product. Too much communication creates bottlenecks. Like if you have to talk about every decision among every team, then no decisions get made. So what you want is loosely coupled teams, and you have agreed upon minimum viable governance, and that becomes the framework that they can all use, but you really want the teams to be relatively autonomous so that you can scale the organization effectively.
Thank you for sharing that. I have another question, Stephen. Giving businesses more self-service sounds great, and a lot of organizations aim to do that, but that doesn't always end up great. So, from your experience, what are some good ways to help teams work with data while still maintaining things well governed?
So I'm in strong favor of self-service. I think that the way that you deliver value is by putting access to the data into the hands of the knowledge workers and not creating a bunch of IT intermediaries and so on. Obviously, you have to have guardrails so that people are using the data in appropriate ways and so on.
Yes.
I think that you can become much more productive and democratize access to data with generative AI. So I don't want to have a bunch of technical tools in between the business decision maker and the data. And now with generative AI, I can in natural language, talk to the data in English language or Swedish language and have conversations, and the AI can be constructed with guardrails. Technical terms might be RAG or retrieval augmented generation and vectors to make sure that we're giving answers in an appropriate way, in a well-governed way, and so on. So the AI can actually give controls in addition to empowering those knowledge workers.
And I want to hear your thoughts on value creation for organizations. What would your advice be, or what would you suggest to organizations and both individuals and teams to try out or do differently when they are investing in data analytics and AI? How can they get the value that they expect from their investments? What would you suggest to these organizations?
Well, there's a couple of things. So one is, don't start with the data, start with the business improvement opportunity. This is the thing that will add value to my business. And don't start with technology-led approaches like, I want to use AI, where should I use AI? That's not the right question. The question is, you need to do the upfront homework and say, my best business improvement opportunities are in fraud detection or churn management or cross-sell, whatever it is. And then from that, then you figure out what data is required in your data products. And then to accelerate the delivery, because faster, cheaper delivery is better return on investment, we should be embedding generative AI into those business processes. Not only generative AI, but also other machine learning and AI best practices. And so you have this toolbox of AI techniques, and we should be able to reach into the toolbox and not be afraid. Some people are afraid, AI is going to replace my job. I don't think AI is going to replace the job of humans, but humans who know how to use AI properly to amplify their skill sets are going to replace humans that don't use AI. Right. So if you want to be productive in the future, you have to embrace AI into your everyday work processes.
Yes, that was going to be my next question regarding human AI collaboration, but you already covered that. I also want to ask you if you could make one bold prediction for the next couple of years or until 2030, for example. What do you hope to see in terms of developments in data and AI within organizations?
I think there's been a lot of emphasis right now on developing, faster and cheaper and more accurate AI algorithms. And what I believe is going to have to happen is, yes, we need to do all those things, but we need to create more transparency. Because right now, AI is like a black box, and there's something called computational authority that says, if the computer says do this, then we just blindly do it. It's not a very good idea. So we need transparency and explainability so we can evaluate the recommendation, say, really, does this make sense? Is there bias in there? We need to remove bias. And that all starts with transparency and explainability. So my hope is that there's a shift towards more transparency in the deployment of the AI, and the marriage of the human skills and the AI skills to create good AI instead of bad AI. Bad AI is just automating or replacing humans. Yes, it makes things cheaper, but you haven't actually transformed the organization. So for transformational AIs, you want to take the human skills and then amplify them and give them new skills and allow them to do new, greater, better things. And that's a different way of thinking for some organizations.
Thank you very much for sharing those insights. It's really interesting to hear your perspective. Also, I would like to ask you one final question. If you could describe the Data Innovation Summit in one word, what would that word be?
I think I used it earlier. I would say vibrant.
Vibrant.
Vibrant, full of energy, full of interaction. So vibrant is the word.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Very glad to hear that.